Hello guys, welcome to my next video. So this tutorial is basically for those guys who are really interested to learn programming and who are beginners who wants to learn web development and programming, how we can make their career and excel their career in this field. As you guys know, world is digitalizing very fast, so a lot of things already have been automated and have been converted into digital market, and a lot of things are in the queue and everybody is rushing towards that direction. All the business are being automated and all the conversion have been started to make things effective and to have a better control on a business, to have online market and to introduce softwares and all these kind of stuff in the business. So there's lot more scope of web development, web programming, web application and all these areas. So a lot of people are really making their careers in this field, and they are doing a lot in this direction. Lot of guys are really interested to learn programming, and a lot of people approaches me about that. So I have thought about making a tutorial where I can explain the concept of PHP and how we can set up that, how we can make environment, how we can develop basic application basically in PHP, so that if you guys understand this video and if you guys focus on this video, you will have to learn a lot. You will have a lot more ideas about the web development field and how this field and how the code actually works. So if you are beginner, you are new in PHP, don't worry about that. I have made video specially for you. So let's begin. So as you maybe you are familiar with the name of PHP. This is basically a server-side scripting language, and there are a lot of millions of applications already have been developed in this technology. A lot of things are in the queue. People are really developing that. On this PHP, there are a lot of other frameworks which have been developed, like WordPress, 𝒂𝒃𝒄𝒄𝒄, Joomla, Magento. So all these are really packages which are developed in PHP. The core concept, the core functionality, the core technology behind all these frameworks is PHP. So if you are interested, I have made a great tutorial to understand and to teach you guys how you can start your career, how you can actually go in this direction. For the convenience, as always, in all the videos, I always upload my code link to GitHub handler. You can just go there, download the code and run on your local machine too, and understand that too. So in this video also, I have uploaded my code on GitHub handler. Now I am going to walk through and I am going to let you know what that code actually works and how this code is set up and how you can run that on your local machine. Down the road, if you guys have any comment about anything, please let me know in the comment box. I will definitely reply to you. So there are a couple of prerequisites before we get to the code. We have to install basically two softwares which are very helpful to make environment on a local machine and to run this application, to run this code on a local machine. So there are two basic softwares which we need. One is WAMP server and another is a code editor. So WAMP server is basically a virtual server environment which we make on our local computers, and this environment really basically helps the user to run the application on the local machine. And there are a couple of sites, like WAMP server has their official site also. You can just go there, download the code and run that on your local machine. So down the road, when you run WAMP server, you might have some issues. These issues basically varies from Windows to Windows. If you're using Windows 8, Windows 10, so there could be a couple of issues and you have to find those and track those. There's a lot more help available for different kind of errors on the so there's a lot more help available to actually run these softwares in your local machine. Once you run that, then you can run this PHP code on your local machine. So after you run WAMP server, you will have the icon in your computer, or maybe at the desktop if you configure it like that. So once you run that, so you will see here in taskbar, you will see that icon, and this icon should be green. If that icon is not green, then it means there's problem with WAMP installation, and you have to search for that, and you have to fix that issue. So these WAMP icon should be green to make it run the environment which we want to run in a local machine. Another software other than WAMP server is VS Code. Basically, this VS Code is a code editor. You can actually use any code editor. There are a lot of there are a lot competitive code editors like Dreamweaver, Sublime, and VS Code, and a couple of others also in the market. You can download those, and these are totally free softwares. Download that and you can enjoy the journey of coding. So once you install two softwares, then you have to go at my GitHub handler link. This link is basically, I have given this link in video's description too. If you go to video's description below, and if you see that link, just click on that and you will get to that page. So once you get to that page, you have to, what you have to do, you just have to download zip file. I'm downloading this zip file of PHP CRUD. This basically CRUD means create, read, update, and delete. So these are 4 actions we are going to do in this video. And when I go to download, I do see that, and now I am going to extract that PHP CRUD. So now I have a folder here in PHP application. Now I am going to copy that, and in C I have basically installed this WAMP server in C directory, where we have if you guys have installed that in some other directory, you can go to that drive too. So in C drive I have WAMP, and then I will go to www, and here I am going to create this PHP folder. Basically I had already there. I am deleting that. I'm going to create a new folder called PHP CRUD. So in this folder, I am going to copy all these files, and I'm going to paste all the files in this folder. So how these files are working, how these files are really interconnected, I will explain everything to you guys in detail down the road. So I have added that, downloaded files from GitHub, added in WAMP www and in folder which I have just created, and you can see that I have pasted all my files here. Before we move on to next step, there is one important thing to understand. We have to import, and we have to create and import database. This is very important for the project to run. Basically, this database can be considered as a data storage place. We store all the data, which when we write something in a form, we basically, when we save that, we store the data in the database. So in programming, we have to link each bit of so in programming, we actually connect small bits, and we interrelate different modules, different files, different section of application, and as a whole, then it will become a big really application which we run for successful businesses. To run this database, I'm going to just close this file. I am going to open Firefox. Since I have already localhost installed on my local machine, now I am going to run PHP myadmin. So once we run this PHP myadmin, it will take me to this view after the WAMP is installed. So the requirement is WAMP server should be installed. When I get to that view on localhost, mostly 99% of the time, the username has to be root and password has to be empty when you are running this WAMP server on your local machine. This is important to keep in mind. I click go with empty password and username root. So here when I get to that view, I will see you guys also will see kind of this kind of view in your browser. So now there are a couple of sections like SQL database statuses, all these sections. I am going to click on databases. Now we are going to create database for our project. The name of database, I am going to write the name of database as that's rated solution. Basically this is the name of my company too. So we have written the name of database. When I click on create, it has created a database. So the rated solution database have been created. Now the next step down the road is to include different tables in the database. So this database example can be considered as for you guys which are really beginners in this journey, and to make it kind of similar with the real world example, this can be considered as a big house. In big house, database can be considered a big house. In big house there are a couple of rooms, and these rooms we really keep our things, we keep our gadgets, we keep our different personal accessories. We park our in garage, and we have some bedrooms, drawing rooms, and all these different sections in a room. So database has a similar concept. There is one big house, then in big house we will create separate sections called tables. In each table we store different kind of data. Like if we are going to make some software for the company, we will create a section for users, how many users and are going to use this software, and what will be their privileges, their roles and stuff like that. Then for different products, for financial activities, for the business marketing, digital marketing, all these activities can be stored in different tables based on the logic and relations between these tables. So here I have already created database. I have just that database is uploaded in my GitHub handler too, which you have downloaded the code. So this is the file .sql. This is basically a database file. So what you guys have to do, you just have to click on import. After creating database, you have to click on import and open that directory. I have opened this directory and just import the file. When I click on go, all the the database which is in the folder should be imported successfully in my PHP my admin. So now when I click on rated solution, we will see there is one table added called users. As I told you, in database can be considered as big house, and in big house there could be different sections, different rooms. So we have created so far a user table. Down the road we can increase more tables too in the database, and whenever application will keep growing, we can keep adding all different tables in the database true. So so far we have created database, we have placed all the files in the folder. Now if I run that on localhost, if I run that application, I have to give the name of folder which we have created after the localhost. After localhost, I am going to give the name like PHP CRUD. So here we go. We have loaded our code in the browser, which we have the files we have pasted, database we have created, the code is already imported. Now we will go through each file and we will see how these files are basically working. After you successfully run this code on your local machine, then you can pause the video too if you have encountered any problem or something. First step is to run this code on your local machine successfully. Once that code is running, then I'm going to explain how this code is really working. So now I am going to this folder again. So there are a couple of files here. First of all, we are going to click on this connect file. So this connect file has the settings for connection of database in PHP. like we have imported database. To import the database, we have to log into PHP-MyAdmin with the username and password. Here what we have to do, we have to initialize certain variables. So this variable basically is considered as containers in the application, in the software. So these containers can have value, and this value can be changed also. So right now I have container called a variable called localhost. In localhost I have stored the value localhost with this port 3307. so this port is coming basically from here, 3307. If you run WAMP server and you do not have any port associated with that, if you run that, then you do not have to mention this 3307. Just localhost is enough. So you can see that after going into PHP-MyAdmin, if you see port number is there, then you can add that. Otherwise, localhost will work perfectly fine. Another thing is username. You must have noticed we added username root when we logged in through browser. Password was empty. Database right now we have created and we have imported. You guys have seen that the name of this database was Rated Solution. So that's the name of my company too, just to create a database as an example. We have named it like that. So this is important line which is going to make connection to the database. This line has very much importance in this application. We have connected through by passing all these parameters: localhost, username, password, and DB name. So once this connection is established, then this file will run successfully, and we can have connection with the database. If there is any error, if there is any problem with this file, then of course the database connection will fail and data will not load and we will get an error. So how we can check that? I'm going to change something. I'm going to change the name of this username. I'm going to change that. When I run it, when I go to all users, so you see I have encountered an error: access denied for this user root 123, and also connection failed. So when I undo that and when I reload this page again, so there is no error. We have data which was already in the table, and this data is being retrieved, and we have seen that data is loaded pretty fine. So the importance of this connection file is basically to connect to the database which we are going to use in our application. Now there's another file called index. Whenever we write something, this is very important to understand. Whenever we load something in the browser, like PHP CRUD is the name of our project folder which we have just created in this video. So whenever I hit enter, first file which is going to run, that will be index.php. First file that will run in the project that will be index.php. If I rename this file, I'm going to I have clicked F2 and we can rename it like index1. Now when I click on PHP CRUD, this file will not load and I will see all the list of files, because by default in this setting index.php is supposed to load. Since that file does not exist, that's why this browser has listed me all the files which really exist in the folder. When I click on that, then of course we can load that. Otherwise, by default, if we load something, then it has to be index. Now I am again going to rename this file by clicking F2 and again going to load this project. So this is how we can just implement that. And now the other file in this index.php file, if we see this file, there are a couple of things which are included, like header.php, footer.php, and this is the content of this file which is added here. This is included already in the file, so that will make the part of this file. whenever we load something, this header.php will load first. There's one thing to understand. When we run PHP in our file or in our script, it has to be within this tag, that PHP starting and PHP ending. So this tag is considered as PHP starting tag. This tag is considered as PHP ending tag. So all the code should be within these tags. If we write something out of these tags, then it will not be considered as PHP code. It can be considered as HTML code or something, because you see, we have closed PHP tag. Now we have this code, and this code is considered as outside of the application, right? Now I am going to load this header file, and we can see what is basically included in this header file. So here is header file, and this is the default HTML which is created when we create HTML file. And what we have added here, this is important to understand. We are using Bootstrap to make this application nicer. So what is Bootstrap? You can learn that in a separate video. So I can tell you in short, Bootstrap is basically used for the styling of application. If you want to style certain application different and a modern way, and acceptable to eyes, or good format, in a good format, we use this Bootstrap CSS. So already I have added this Bootstrap. So this is also the HTML we have added for Bootstrap, like this is part of header too. So this strip is part of it, and add user, all these things are added here. I have added all users, add users, so all these things are already added in this header file. And now we is going to see footer file. This footer file, I have just added two things, container, and also there's the name of year which we are here in 2021. And other thing is, in this file, other than index, when we get to this all user, you see the URL gets changed, and it has added users.php. So when we are on this URL, we see the data is loaded, and how this data is loaded, how this data is basically displayed, now we will learn that. So this data is loaded here, and I am going to open this users file. First of all, we have added connection, included connection.php. Remember guys, we have already learned about this connection.php. This is basically creating connection with the database. I'm just going to open it again, this connect.php. So this is just a database setting. We can include that on all the pages where we need it. Here in users.php, first file I have included is connection.php. Another file is header.php, because I want to display this data to this strip and all this menu to. This is part of header basically. So this file is automatically added, and this file is being reused. If you have noticed, header.php is a separate file that can be considered as a separate module. This module is added on all different files where we need that, right? So header is included. Now I have created a container, and in this container there is certain code which is a PHP code, and you must have noticed all this code is written, PHP code is written after this tag. This is a PHP starting tag. So all PHP code will be written within this tag. Once this tag will be closed, here I have closed that tag. So this tag is closed. Now PHP scripting will be closed. Now the rest of things will be related to HTML stuff. So the purpose of this file is to retrieve the data from database and to display all the data on the page. So how we are doing that? We are writing a query here. Let's just ignore this section for now. I will explain it in a moment. So here, to display this data, we are writing a query which is called select * from users. So this query is basically sending a request to the database that I want all the data which is stored in user table. Right now we only have user table. We do not have other tables. Down the road we can increase tables. That could be 100 or 200 tables based on the complexity and the importance and the big of project. These tables can grow a lot, but right now since we have just one table, so this query means this is a predefined syntax. We cannot make any changes other than certain changes, like we can, if we want to get data from any other table, like if we have any other table called accounts, then we should have written name here that select * from accounts. So this * means to get everything within this table. Now we are getting everything which is in user table. Now we are going to execute this query. Execution means that the action will take place and result will be stored in this variable. Now we are checking if that result exists, then we are going to display all this data. So based on the result existence, we are going to display all the data, and here we are going to display the first name, last name, address, contact, and all this thing. And also we are going to display this edit and delete button too. So there is a delete button and here it is an edit button. We have displayed these two buttons too. Like you see here, there's edit button, edit and delete, two buttons are also the part of row. So there's one question. Right now we have two rows. These rows can keep on growing. And but we have written code just once. Like this code is written just once. But if we write 100, if we want to display 100 lines of data, we do not have to write code again. This is the beauty of PHP. We are using loop basically. And this loop will run multiple times based on how many records exist in the database. If there are 2 records, this loop will run 2 times on the back end. We do not have to write things 2 times, 5 times, 100 times based on the data. We will write this loop once, and based on this loop, this data in the loop, this will run and display the data to us. And all things will be by default. Now I am going to click on add user, and in this user, of course, if you see, when I click on add user, this URL gets changed and now it is insert.php. So now we are going to open this insert.php and we are going to see what really exists in this file, what is the code written in this file. I am going to open this insert.php, and as always, both files connect.php and header.php are already included. This require once means we are going to require this file just once in this application of this insert.php file. So what we are going to do here, basically this part is wrapped in this if statement, and this is the HTML which we have displaying here in this view. If you see my browser, first name, last name, address, contact, so all these things are here included in this code section. Add new user, and here's the first name. After the first name, this is input field. So this input field is basically displaying this part of page, and here the label is first name, and first name is written here. If I am going to edit this file and change something called names, you see the effect, you can just see on with your own eyes. So this is how we have set up different sections, label and input field, and for next section, label and input field. Then there's text area. So this text area means we are going to write something which has lot more strings. Basically names could be a smaller string, like 5, 6 up to 10 string alphabets, but the address could be something bigger. So that's why we have added text area. If we write, there's important to understand, if we write this input type text, then it is going to make a small text field, a small input area on the page. And when we write something like text area, then it is going to write this kind of bigger structure, bigger section where we can type our address easily. And last thing is to save contact, and we have already uh, added this with the input field. After that there is a submit button, so we have added this add new submit button, and this button is already added. So there's important thing to understand on this page is all these things have been wrapped in a form. You see there's a form starting tag and there's a form ending tag. So all these input fields and text area are wrapped in a form. So form is kind of a container which will do, I mean, this can be considered as a big bag which will have different zips, different sections, different ports where we can save the data or something. If we take a real world example, this can be considered as a bag. So once this bag is filled, all the sections in the bag have certain things we want to carry, then we can just carry that bag to different destinations. So that is the similar example. We have a wrapper, and once we want to carry all this information to the database, we will just post data via form. So when we click on add new button, it basically posts the data and control will come here in this section. Here we are getting all the values and storing in the variables and all these things. Now this is again an important thing. This is query. As I told you on the other page also, like users.php, there was a query to retrieve data. Now we are going to write a query to basically insert the data in the database. So insert into users, this is a predefined syntax. Now here we are going to mention the name of fields, and also these are the name of variables we have just created here. So once this query execution performs successfully, then we can have a message as successfully added new user. So let's see the effect of it. I'm going to add a new user called Chris, and here I'm going to name it well. Address could be anywhere, like anywhere in the world. This is a dummy text. Now I am going to add contact information. This can also be something random. I'm going to add new. So you see the message I have displayed here is successfully added new user. So this user has been added in the database. How we can see that? We have to get to all users page now, and we can see whether this data is added or not. So this page, when you click on that, this page is supposed to retrieve the data, to get data from database and to display on the page. So this page has retrieved the data. I have just added this user. These were already added in this application. I have added, and you can see this data is visible too in the browser on the page. So this is how we can add data, and this is how we can retrieve data in the application. Now there are two important things left, and then our PHP basic tutorial will be covered. So what are these two things? These are the two buttons we have, right? Delete and edit. If you want to delete certain data, and how we can edit a certain information in the form, in the table. So starting from this delete section is basically going to delete the row which we are going to delete. It's not going to delete all the table. It's not going to delete all the rows, all the users, because this delete button is next to every row. So when you click on this delete, what's going to happen? Let's see where delete button is added first. If we go to users.php, so here we have a delete button code. So on this delete button, basically what we are going to do, we are going to submit the form and we are going to post the data. And when we post the data, so this section is going to execute. Whenever we post this data, it will come to this section, and in this section we have written a query. So again, as I told you, we have a query to retrieve data from database. We have a query to store data in the database. We have to write query to delete data from the database. We have added a query called delete from user. So this table name should be important to mention here, and the user ID is which we have posted that. If you see, for each users there will be a different user ID. So when I click on that, this query will run and it will display me the message that successfully deleted user. So let's see that. Here we go. So now we have 2 users left, and the Chris user which we have created already, that is gone now. Successfully delete user, because this part of code is executed based on the condition we have selected, and now this user is gone. So this is how we can delete data from our application. Now the last thing, but not the least, this is very important to understand how we can edit certain information. So this is very important concept to understand, how we can edit small bit instead of deleting that. Suppose I am going to write something like, this is a user and I forgot to enter its last name. So I am going to edit that, and I am going to write its name that it has name Joe. When I click on update, this name should be updated, and that has been changed. So how that happened, how basically that code worked, now I am going to explain that part of application. When I click on edit, here edit button should be mentioned here. Here it is edit button, and it is going to take me to edit.php. When I click on that, you see the URL gets changed and edit.php file is executed now. So in this file we have all these fields, but this file is basically similar to add user. If I click on add user file in a different tab, so you see there is kind of similar file with small difference. Did you notice what is the difference? Yes, you are 100% right. So the difference in add user file is these inputs fields are, and the text area and all these fields are empty. But here in edit.php, all these files are auto-filled. All the data is auto-filled, and this will tell us that this user we are going to edit. Now we can remove and edit whatever we want to do, what are the fields we want to edit that. So rest of things are auto-filled, predefined here in edit.php. That is basically difference between add.php, add user.php and edit.php. I'm going to open that file. Let's see what is in this file. So in this file, as always, connection file is included, header file is included, container is there, and now we are, if I just minimize that code, and if we see this part first, so we are going to retrieve the ID, and also we are going to write query select static from database, where this is very important to understand. If we want to retrieve just one record from database, we will apply condition, and if we just keep it like select static from database, this is going to give me all the users which are stored in the database. If I write that where user ID is this means I am looking for just one user, one row from the database. So based on this request, this query is going to give me the result, and I am going to just get this result, fetch this result from array, and display all the data. Like you see, here is the first name, and in this value I have added the first name which is coming from database. So this thing is dynamic for all the users. Now we have this first name, and same thing for last name, earth, and address and contact. All these things are auto-filled, and these are auto-filled because of this section in the value for each input field. You see the value here, and here is the value which is already auto-filled. This is also the value, and this is also a contact value which is coming from database. So this is how we can auto-fill our data in the form. Now if I change something, like here I am going to edit that, like I'm saying 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒈. So I have updated its name. When I click on update button, what is going to happen? So this update button is going to submit this whole form. As I told you, all these things is wrapped in a form. So all things have been wrapped and have been added. So this form is basically container, and it contained all the data which we are going to post to the database. And we have updated this name like last name, and once we post this data to the database, what is going to happen? Basically, it is going to update the row which already exists in the database with a new value. So how that happened? Let's see that. Once we update that, this part of code which we minimized to understand the display of data, now we are going to open that, and we are going to learn that. So if that is posted and all these things are auto-filled and nothing is blank, now we are going to get here, and as we have seen that in add user, we are going to store all the data in these variables, and we have to write a query. So you have noticed that for every action in the database we need a query. If we want to get something from database, if you want to add something in database, if you want to delete something, and if you want to update something, different kind of queries are already available in MySQL, and we can just reuse those. So here we have update users with first name. I am going to update with the first name we have received from the form. Last name I am going to receive update which we have received from the form. So we cannot predict which fields have been changed, which value we have changed. So that's why we are going to update all the values. We are going to update all the values. If the values were not changed, then the same thing will replaced with same thing. If some value have been changed, then the last value will be replaced with the new value. So this is how we can update our application. So once this query will run, we will see a message that successfully updated the user. I'm going to update that. Here we go. We have updated and we have seen the message too. Just to make sure that it really updated the database, what we have to do when I go to all user page, when we go to all user page, we will see that the username should be 𝒂𝒴𝘀. It was not 𝒂𝒴𝘀. Now since we have updated that, it should be 𝒂𝒴𝘀 now. I'm going to click all user. Here we go. So that is how we can update our data in the database. So in this video, we have learned basically different concepts and the basic of PHP. I am going to summarize all the video for you guys, and you can see all the points and you can make sure that you have gone through all these points. First of all, you have to make environment on your local machine. You have to run WAMP server. Another thing is you have to run VS Code or any other code editor just to see the code formatting of code. Then you have to go to GitHub handlers link. I have given that GitHub handler link in my video's description too. You can go there and download the code. Once you run that code on your local machine, as I explained to you in C, wherever you have installed WAMP, if you have installed in C, then you can go to C WAMP WWE and paste the files which you have downloaded from GitHub handler. Next thing is you have to go to phpMyAdmin. After installing WAMP server, create database, and after creating database, you just have to import database which you have downloaded from my GitHub handler. Once you download that, then you make sure the connection is fine. Then of course, when you run the URL like this localhost/phpcrud. So I have named my project as phpcrud. If you have named it something else, like if you have named it with the name of your girlfriend, just joking, if you have named it something, any other folder name, then you will just hit the enter and this data will be loaded. Whole the project will be loaded for you. You can just browse different pages and you can just see the data, and you can feel the application is running a dynamic application with 4 basic functionalities: create, update, delete, and edit. So all these functionalities will be available in the application. You can just play around with that code. You can make changes by keeping the backup. Of course, the backup is always available on my GitHub handle. You can go there, download anytime. So once you run this application, you will have the idea how these actions can be performed in PHP. Still, if you guys have any questions, any confusions, if you guys want to discuss anything with me, feel free to contact me in comment box. Ask your question, I will definitely reply to you. So this is a great opportunity for you who are beginners, who want to get into this field and want to make their career. They have a great opportunity to learn at least the basics of PHP. Based on that, all the empire will be created. So stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you.